I begged my family for support while my baby was in the NICU. They didn't show up. 5 weeks later, I got 62 missed calls and a text that said, "Answer." It's urgent. I picked up the phone and then it was 2 o'clock in the morning and I was sitting alone in a narrow, windowless hospital pumping room. The fluorescent lights buzzed faintly above me, casting a sterile glow over the white tile walls. The air smelled of antiseptic and stale coffee. The only sound was the rhythmic, mechanical wheeze of the breast pump, that strange, intimate machine that became both companion and tormentor in those endless nights. My name is Lauren. I'm 34 years old, and one floor below me, my son Leo was fighting for his life in the NICU. He had arrived at just 27 weeks, a tiny, fragile miracle weighing 2 pounds and 1 ounce, smaller than a loaf of bread, his skin translucent as wet tissue paper. I was exhausted beyond language, terrified beyond reason, and all I needed, was for my family to be near. My hands trembled as I opened our family group chat, that glossy, image-obsessed collection of Bostonians who curated every moment of life like a social media campaign. I typed, "Leo is having a hard night. Please just pray for him." My thumb hovered over the send button for a heartbeat before I pressed it. It felt like a plea. A flare shot into the sky. Minutes later, my phone buzzed. My heart leapt, expecting comfort, but when I looked, it wasn't a message of support. It was a photo from my Aunt Rebecca, our family's self-appointed matriarch, smiling in a ball gown on a glittering stage, one manicured hand clutching a crystal trophy. The caption read, "So proud to represent our family at the Children's Hospital Foundation Gala." Number sign, giving back. I stared at it, stunned. Have you ever had your deepest crisis ignored? Or worse, used as someone else's photo op? That image wasn't just tone deaf. It was deliberate. It was a message, a symptom of everything that had always been wrong between us. You see, in my family, we weren't simply related. We were an institution. Old money Boston stock, obsessively polished. Our name appeared on plaques and gala programs, not hospital wristbands. We didn't have problems. We had unfortunate events. Everything was curated, managed, photographed, and above all, controlled by Rebecca. My mother's older sister had taken the reins of the family foundation after my mother died, and she ruled it with the precision of a corporate CEO and the coldness of a tax audit. Rebecca was not cruel in the obvious way. Her cruelty was elegant, polite, strategic, almost invisible unless you knew where to look. She valued composure above kindness, results above empathy. Anything that didn't fit the narrative of success, strength, and philanthropy was a problem to be managed, not a wound to be tended. My husband Ryan, an architect with a perfect jawline and an impeccable resume, was approved. My career, however, was not. I was a grant writer for small, struggling nonprofits, the kind that dealt with addiction, homelessness, domestic abuse, the kinds of causes that smelled like sweat and cigarettes, not champagne and endowments. Lauren is the sensitive one, Rebecca would say at family dinners with a pitying smile, which was code for unstable, fragile, slightly embarrassing. And my greatest failure, in their eyes, was not professional. It was reproductive. Ryan and I had spent years trying to have a child. 2 miscarriages, 2 quiet heartbreaks. Each time the family's response was coldly administrative. No tears, no visits, just, "These things happen, dear. Let's keep it private." As if my grief were an inconvenience, a stain on the family portrait. When I finally got pregnant again, Rebecca's smile was thin. "Let's just hope you can stay calm this time," she said, "for the baby's sake." So when Leo arrived 10 weeks early, ripped into the world by an emergency C-section, their silence afterward was deafening. My catastrophe did not fit their brand. That night in the pumping room, staring at Rebecca's gala photo, I understood. She was declaring control of the narrative. She was showing the world the real family, graceful, generous, radiant, while I was tucked away, bleeding and terrified, out of sight. That night, I knew I was completely and utterly alone. Weeks blurred into one another, my life shrank to the dimensions of Leo's incubator, a small, humming plastic universe. The NICU is its own planet. It has its own time, its own language. You learn to speak in grams and milliliters. You memorize the colors and tones of alarms, which mean he forgot to breathe and which mean run now. Leo was tiny, impossibly delicate. His skin was red and thin as a petal. His eyelids still fused like a bird's. Every day I sat beside him for 12-hour stretches, whispering stories through the plastic wall, reading the books I'd planned for his nursery. The silence from my family stretched into an echo. I sent updates into the group chat like prayers into the void. He gained 20 grams today. He's off the ventilator. My father, Richard, responded with a single thumbs-up emoji. My stepmother, Brenda, sent nothing at all. Ryan tried. God, he tried. But he had to go back to work to keep our insurance, so our days became ghosts crossing paths. I saw him for an hour at night, both of us half asleep, hands clasped through exhaustion. The only real support I had came from the strangers, the other NICU mothers in that pumping room. We were a tired, broken sisterhood, trading text messages about ounces gained and setbacks endured. They became my lifeline. One afternoon, during a brief break, I scrolled through social media and froze. My cousin had posted a photo, the family, all of them, laughing under a white tent at a polo match. My father, my stepmother, Rebecca, all tanned and smiling, glasses raised. The caption read, "Wonderful Family Day." I sat there, numb. My child was fighting to live in a plastic box, and they were clinking champagne flutes under the sun. It was like I'd been erased, edited out. I stopped sending updates. I stopped expecting replies. The only question that haunted me was why. Why did they hate me so much? Why this quiet, calculated cruelty? 5 weeks later, Leo was finally stable, which, in NICU terms, means not dying right this minute. I was in the cafeteria stirring cold coffee when my phone suddenly exploded. 73 missed calls. My brother, Ethan. Panic rose in my throat. I opened the latest message. "Lauren, answer. It's Aunt Sharon. She's at Mass General. It's bad. Aunt Sharon." My mother's other sister, the gentle one, the one Rebecca had always sidelined. I called Ethan instantly. He answered on the first ring. "She had a massive stroke this morning," he said. "It's bad. Everyone's here. Dad, Brenda, Rebecca, everyone. And Dad's asking why you aren't here. He's hurt that you haven't come." I laughed, a short, hollow sound. "He's hurt? Ethan, where has he been for 5 weeks? I have a son in the NICU, and not one of them has called, not once." There was a long silence. Then Ethan said, cautiously, "That can't be right. Rebecca told us she's been visiting you. She said she's coordinating meals, sitting with Leo so you can rest. She said you were overwhelmed and asked for privacy." The words hit like a slap. Ethan came the next day. When he saw Leo, saw how small he was, how many wires tethered him, I watched my brother's composure break. He reached through the porthole to touch Leo's foot and whispered, "He's perfect." Later, in the gray family room, he said quietly, "I talked to Dad last night. Lauren, it's worse than we thought." My stomach turned. "What did she do, Ethan?" He rubbed his face. "She told them you were suffering from severe postpartum psychosis. She said the doctors advised no visitors, that you were unstable, even a danger to yourself and the baby. She used your past depression after the miscarriages as proof. I couldn't breathe." "She what?" "She convinced Dad that staying away was protecting you, that the hospital requested it." His voice shook with fury. "She lied to all of us." And suddenly it all clicked. The silence, the distance, the absence of love. It wasn't neglect. It was a calculated erasure. Rebecca had rewritten the narrative, turning me into the family's cautionary tale, the unstable one, the liability. In doing so, she preserved her image as the benevolent matriarch who handled family crises. It was textbook narcissistic control, the gatekeeper dynamic. She made herself the hub. Information, affection, money, it all flowed through her. She didn't just isolate me. She isolated them from me. "Set up a call," I said finally. "What?" "Set up a video call with all of them. Tonight, I want them to see me. I want them to see Leo. I want to see her face when I ask her." That evening, in the sterile family room outside the NICU, Ethan placed his laptop on the table and started the call. My hands were steady. On the screen appeared their faces, all gathered in Aunt Sharon's hospital room. My father looked weary, smaller somehow. Brenda was wringing her hands. Rebecca stood in the back, her posture straight, her expression polished and cool. "Lauren," my father began, voice trembling. "We had no idea." "Rebecca told us, look at him first," I interrupted. My voice was cold, calm. I picked up the laptop and turned it toward Leo's incubator, the tiny body under blue lights, the nest of tubes and wires. "This is your grandson. He's 5 weeks old, 2 pounds, 1 ounce. He's been fighting for his life alone because you believed a lie. My father's face crumpled. Brenda began to cry. Rebecca's jaw tightened. Lauren, she snapped, this hysteria is exactly what we tried to avoid. You were unstable. We were following medical advice. The doctor's advice, I said, or yours? You never called a doctor. You never came here. You lied. I was protecting this family, she shouted suddenly. Protecting your father from another one of your emotional breakdowns. Someone had to manage the situation. Manage? I echoed. Like the gala? Tell me, Rebecca, how did it feel to accept applause for your generosity while my son was on a ventilator 2 miles away? Did that make you feel powerful? For the first time, she was silent. Her face blanched. My father turned to her, the truth dawning. I leaned closer to the camera. You didn't protect this family. You protected your image. Then I ended the call. The next morning, my father and Brenda were waiting outside the NICU. Their faces were raw with remorse. We came to meet our grandson, my father said. No excuses, just quiet shame. I led them to the sink, watched them scrub in like the nurses taught. My father stood over Leo's incubator, tears in his eyes. He's beautiful, Brenda whispered. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet, but it was a start. From now on, I told them, our relationship is built on truth, or it isn't built at all. My father nodded, eyes fixed on Leo. 10 weeks later, Leo came home, small but fierce, 5 pounds of stubborn life. One afternoon, our intercom buzzed. Rebecca's voice came through, honeyed and brittle. Lauren, darling, let me in. I've brought something for Leo's trust fund from the foundation. I looked at Ryan, cradling our sleeping son. I pressed the button. We don't need a donation, Rebecca. Excuse me? Her tone sharpened. I am your aunt. I am family. Let me in. No, I said clearly. You're a relation. My family is in this home. Then I disconnected the call. She buzzed again and again. Then she left. Months later, when Leo turned 1, our apartment overflowed with people. Messy, laughing, real people. Ethan held Leo high like a trophy. Aunt Sharon, recovered and radiant, told him stories. My NICU friends crowded around with their own miracle babies. My father sat on the floor helping Leo open gifts, stripped of his old hauteur. I looked around and felt something vast and quiet bloom in my chest. I'd spent my whole life believing family was an obligation, that blood demanded loyalty no matter the cost. But standing there, I knew better. Family isn't a birthright. It's an honor you earn moment by moment through love, respect, and presence. Walking away from the people who hurt you isn't abandonment. It's self-preservation. It's courage. It's saying, I deserve peace. And as Leo laughed in his father's arms, light streaming across the room, I realized I wasn't alone anymore. I had built my own family, one defined not by name or legacy, but by love that showed up when it mattered most.